the microphone if you are requested to speak. If possible, if we do not need your video, kindly stop your video so we can have an improved quality of sound. That is very critical. If you have a question, if you have a query, kindly use the chat room, or you can post on the Facebook comments on all the pages that are streaming. We'll be able to get your questions and your queries. We would like to welcome our audience on TV, on Spirit TV. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that this afternoon will be special for you. As we get set and try to get everything in motion, please pardon us, and let me go through the agenda very fast. We'll have an opening prayer. Then we'll have our introductory remarks. I will introduce the panelists that we have for this session, and then we'll dive into the presentations. Please take notes so we can have your questions coming in via the chat room and the Facebook comments. We will have the Q&A session at the end of the third presentation. We have three presenters. Right now, I would like to invite Ms. John Katshabe, who is a member of staff at Finance Trust Bank, to give us our opening prayer, and then we'll get right into the introductory remarks. John.
Let's humble ourselves. Almighty Father, we thank you for a day such as this. It's a privilege to have you as our God. We ask you to come and be part of our meeting. Join us and let's learn about financial management to the glory of your name. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, John, for the prayer. And as we start off, I'd like to just describe very briefly what we are going to talk about. We're talking about financial intelligence and how we should use it in our personal finance management. Now, the official definition of emotional intelligence is it is the capacity to be aware of, to control and express one's emotions, and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically. That is what the scholars tell us. We should be able to handle our emotions and be aware of our surroundings and how emotions are affecting those around us. Now, emotional intelligence has a bearing on one's ability to cope with issues. And in this particular case, we're talking about money. How do we deal with money? That means we need financial emotional intelligence. And briefly, this is the understanding of what we feel about money and why. It is really zeroing down on what money means to us emotionally, so that we can feel welcome when we come around money, and invite more money into our lives and enjoy it. It takes emotional intelligence to do that. Now, as business leaders, I know we have many business leaders in the house, on the TV, people who are into one thing or another, to hustle day-to-day lives. As leaders, as entrepreneurs, many of us were trained to separate our emotions from finance. But the days of keeping our feelings out of business are way long gone. And more than ever, we are realizing that it is our moment to dominant feeling. What do we feel in every moment that determines our level of success in the way we deal with money, and that is seen emotionally and financially. So this afternoon, I am privileged to first of all introduce our first guest, our first speaker for Miss Judith Nasali. Miss Judith Nasali You're
Nursery.
welcome.
You're
I will
welcome.
not say
I
so
will
much
not
about you.
say
I know
so
your
much about you.
presentation
I know
says a
your
lot about
presentation
what you
says a
do
lot about what you
and
do
how
and
we need
how
to
we need
balance
to balance
our
our
emotions when
emotions
dealing
when dealing
with money.
with
So,
money. So,
my first
my
question
first
is,
question
who is
is,
Judith
who is Judith
and how
and
can
how
Judith
can
help
Judith
us,
help us,
especially
especially
young girls who
young
are
girls
coming
who are
into the
coming
field
into
of
the
dealing
field
with
of
money,
dealing
who are
with money,
getting
who are
into
getting into
their first
their
jobs?
first jobs?
What sets of
What
skills do
sets
they
of
need
skills do they
emotionally
need
to
emotionally
handle money
to handle
issues and
money
to
issues,
develop financially?
develop financially?
Judith, you're welcome.
Judith, you're welcome. Many of us have friends or somebody that we call friend. Of course we do. And how do we treat our friends? We love them. They could be having nicknames. We are kind to them. We check on them, find how they are doing, we think about them, and communicate to them as we can. Judith Nursery is my name. Me and my colleague, Dr. Leslie Goodstein, are honored to be here with you today and speaking about emotional intelligence in finance. It's our pleasure to introduce our work and the work we do, providing mental and emotional wellness for women and girls through our core programs, utilizing transcendental meditation technique. Transcendental meditation, we call it TM for short. We will share with you the benefits of TM for women's productivity and the quality of life, and how TM positively impacts emotional intelligence. We know that the capacity to acknowledge and express one's emotions and how to enjoy relationships at work and at home is key to both personal and professional success, and especially for anyone in a leadership role. During the past 40 years, over 400 studies have been published in leading peer-reviewed journals from around the world showing the benefits of the TM technique, and these benefits are wide-ranging and significant, impacting the mind, emotions, body, and behavior in a holistic and natural way. These benefits include clearer thinking, enhanced brain functioning, emotional and physical well-being, improved reasoning ability, great self-esteem and confidence, and reduced anxiety, all of which has a profound impact on the physical and mental health, and enhanced emotional intelligence. You may wonder and ask yourselves what the TM is. TM is an effortless and self-improvement technique that allows your mind to settle in itself. It requires no concentration, no contemplation, no specific postures, or any kind of monitoring of breath or physical functions. The practice is done by people of all ages, from all walks of life, culture, and religious backgrounds, and professions. It is a universal technique that is easy to learn and easy to do. Anyone can learn and do it. The children, adults, and the elderly. It is simple, yet it is highly effective. TM is practiced for 15 to 20 minutes, morning and evening, sitting comfortably with eyes closed.
It is taught by certified instructors in a standard systematic way around the world with a personalized program of instruction of about an hour per day for over 4 consecutive days. And the reason it is called transcendental meditation is very specific. The word transcend means to go beyond, and the word meditation means to think or contemplate. So what happens during TM is we transcend or go beyond the thinking process and experience pure, it's like a state of awareness. Our goal and the Institute for Perfect Health and Nutrition works in all sectors of society. In education, business, in health institutions, and with vulnerable individuals. In all these areas, we see the great benefits of TM. Specifically in the workplace, these benefits include increased intelligence, creativity, productivity, worksite stress reduction. We will talk more about this. Improved work in personal relationships and employee personal growth. This effortless and natural technique that allows you to experience the most and peaceful level of the mind, your innermost self, and efficiently and effectively enhance emotional intelligence, which is all about improving inner aspects of life. There are 4 aspects of emotional intelligence, and these include 1 is self-management, self-awareness, social awareness, and relationship management, and all of these are enhanced by TM. Your life will be directly changed by learning TM in several ways. First is your ability to take care of yourself. When we are able to experience the deepest part of ourselves, then we can truly begin to gain self-management from inside. And this is called the empowerment from within. By learning TM, women are able to increase their confidence. And what does it mean to be more confident? Well, it means that they feel more comfortable taking an initiative, standing up for what is more important to them, and sometimes it means adapting changing circumstances and developing greater resilience. TM also changes your self-awareness. Self-awareness only happens when we have the ability to recognize and acknowledge how we feel. We tap into our true emotions, and knowing what your emotion is important. But power comes from understanding how we react to our thoughts and feelings. This means that our family, our friends, and co-workers will feel a difference in how we act towards them. When we feel less stressed, we can be more reflective, and we can manage our emotions more effectively. This creates a social harmony that didn't exist before. Have you heard of a saying, you can't pour from an empty cup? Learning TM fills up your resilience cup. We are now less overcome by emotions, the ups and downs, and this not only improves your social awareness, but one of the main reasons that TM is so popular in the world, millions of people use TM to change their lives in different ways. And they choose to learn TM because it could be because of stress. It could be not being able to understand their boss very well, or it could be balancing work, children, husband, and parenting responsibilities. And to truly enjoy life, we need to give ourselves 20 minutes of personal time to reset and rest. We need to give ourselves TM. The main reason is that the technique directly decreases plasma cortisol. This is the stress hormone. As you may imagine, so many things in our body change when we feel less stressed. Your blood pressure goes down, your mental health improves, and you feel less anxiety. I'm going to focus on one thing today, and that is how our brain functions. Brain researchers point out that stress has a negative effect on our brain, specifically the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is responsible for executive thinking, decision making, judgment, and more reasoning. The prefrontal cortex is referred to as the CEO of the brain. Stress takes the prefrontal cortex offline. This is where mistakes are made through impulsive behavior rather than measured judgment. EEG research has shown that the transcendental meditation technique creates a greater brain coherence and more harmonious functioning between brain regions. And very importantly, TM activates the prefrontal cortex, which improves decision making and more reasoning. This increases brain coherence and improves clarity of thinking, improves the neurological efficiency, and decreases neuroticism. All these benefits result from improved ability to cope with stress. So the importance of TM for developing emotional intelligence is highly significant. And what could be more important for professionals, where executive thinking and more reasoning are critical for dealing with challenging and stressful situations. Now, I would like to introduce Dr. Leslie Goodstein. Her research resulted into teaching TM to over 700 vulnerable women and 300 children in Kampala. Dr. Goldstein published a research study that was done right here in Uganda. It was published in the Journal of Healthcare for Women International. The intention of the research was to understand how the pressures of these women could be relieved by learning TM. Our work funded this study and collaborated with UOPED, which is United Women's Platform for Empowerment and Development. Dr. Leslie will discuss how TM changed these women's lives.
Before we get to Dr. Leslie, please allow me let's go through the presentations, and then we can get Dr. Leslie's comments at the end, and she'll give us her testimonial of how the research actually helped young girls to get that mindset. Okay, thank you so much, Judith, for the presentation. And in your presentation, what I have picked up is that transcendental meditation is one of those techniques we can use to develop emotional intelligence, and it helps us have increased intelligence, awareness of ourselves, reduce stress, have improved relationships both in our personal lives and in our professional lives. And it is very important for us to get that personal time to set our minds in a way that allows us to make very good decisions, have measured judgments. And that is one thing we need to work on when we are dealing with a lot of money, even little money, how you invest, how you spend, how you plan. And that is one of the things we need to work on. Thank you very much, Judith. I'll allow for our second presenter, and I will introduce Chris Nsubuga Muga. Chris, are you there? Chris, are you there?
Yes, I am, Maggie.
Very good. Thank
Right
you so
here.
much for joining us, Chris. And we are very happy to have you on board. Chris is a Gravitas Impact Coach certified. And among other things, he is very knowledgeable in the subject of entrepreneurship. He is also a pastor, and he loves empowering people with financial knowledge so that they can get that financial liberty to do things right. Today, as we discuss emotional intelligence in our personal finances, Chris is here to help us decipher what makes somebody good at managing money, among other things. Chris, you're welcome for the next 20 minutes. Let's go through the presentation, and I believe people are taking notes. We shall deal with the questions later. You're welcome, Chris.
All right. Thanks a lot, Maggie, and thanks everyone for this opportunity. Thank you, Finance Trust Bank, for allowing me an opportunity to share something that's very close to my heart. Just like I've been introduced, my name is Chris Davis Nsubuga Muga. I've got so many other names that are deeply botanical. I'm a Gravitas Impact coach. I'm a certified Gravitas Impact coach. One of the things that Gravitas does globally is to help businesses to grow, to accelerate growth or scaling up businesses of all types across the globe. And I'm one of the few certified coaches in Africa. But I'm also a straightforward financial growth coach, which is SFFG is personal finance, and we are big on helping people to change their financial stories. We want to change the financial stories of 1 million people in the short run. So that's what we really want to do. And I want to share some of the thoughts from that perspective. But even before I get into that, speaking about financial, emotional intelligence in relation to finances is a really critical conversation, because especially if we're looking at relationships at home, where money is a big deal. Couples, man and woman, most of the time, um, uh, are at peace when money is at peace with them. One of the biggest reasons why couples divorce, I think the top reason is actually money. And so the way it's handled is a big deal. The kind of emotional intelligence that one applies is a big deal. And I just want to remind us that in the definition that Maggie shared as we began about emotional intelligence, because some of us may believe in transcendental meditation, some of us may not. And I don't want us to get lost in that argument. There's going to be a conversation about that. Some faiths don't believe in transcendental meditation, some others do. But speaking about emotional intelligence, which is common ground for all of us, emotional intelligence is the capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions, and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically. So you're handling interpersonal relationships judiciously, empathetically, using your emotions. So that's really the common ground, and I would like us to speak from that point, if that's all right. Okay. So many of the times you find that conversations about money are emotionally charged. We've just been in a COVID lockdown, and it was said that when men didn't have money, they charged. Wife battering went higher, and that kind of thing, because men sort of become strange animals when they're broke. Okay. On the other hand, we've had stories about women putting aside kasente kovuchala, having their own money on the side, money for their homes, building a house for their mom or dad, and the guy doesn't know about it. We've even had stories. I was reading a story 2 weeks ago of a man in Kenya who was bitterly weeping because he had been paying money from the landlady, and the landlady was tough. They almost threw them out of the house, and it turns out to be, after a while, that the landlady was his own wife, and he didn't know about it. Okay. So stuff like that. How do we apply our emotional intelligence and build relationships, even in relation to money? So I think that there's got to be a common sense approach, of course, that's used. Fairness is fairness, whichever way you look at it. If you do not want someone to do something to you, don't do it to the other, right? So I think that emotional intelligence has a lot to do with how we relate with people, reading people right, approaching them right, how we engage. And this is even a much bigger deal when we are married, because when you're in a business partnership, you need to use emotional intelligence, of course, around money, but also when it comes to engagement as couples. And I'm big on family, so if you'll know that I am very big on family. The things that I have found to be true also, and this is a very subjective conclusion on my side, that is that women seem to manage money better than men generally. And this is what I mean. When you're dealing with savings groups, you'll find that most finance organizations deal better with women who are saving money than men who are saving money. Women seem to be able to follow the shilling better and pay back more faithfully and that sort of thing. I said it's subjective, so I know the jury is out, and that might be an interesting conversation to have. But also you find, especially some of us who've grown up with moms here in Africa, you find that they're able to stretch that shilling. And I think it's almost a global thing. 1,000 shillings given to a woman and asked to shop is, gets a different outcome with 1,000 shillings given to a guy. He will buy a chapati. The woman will buy an egg and some tomatoes and make some stew and things that are interesting for the family to share. Okay, so there seems to be different abilities that men have and women have, even as we deal with money. And one of the things that I have found to be true is that most of the time when you find a man, and I'm talking about family and relationship here and emotional intelligence, when you find a man who is basically insecure about himself, he does not want to have a woman who's rich. Okay, because abakazi ba sente bazibu okufuga. It's quick translation. It's very difficult to control, rule over, or lead women who've got money, and that comes from a certain deeply held insecurity. But also, if as a lady you do not have a proven track record of using money well, there's not going to be much trust from your spouse. Okay, so it's a two-way thing, but there's got to be that emotional intelligence that helps us to have conversations. And can I say as well that there's men who are much better at handling money than their wives, and there's women who are much better at handling their money than their husbands. I'm not stereotyping here at all. Okay, but I'm saying that there's got to be a way in which we can have conversations about money, and especially the subject that I want to speak into, which is about money management, So allow me share a slide here real quick, and some slides real quick, and they'll help our conversation move forward. Okay, right. Here we go. Okay. All right. So speaking about money management, who is in charge? Is it the man? Is it the woman? Whose money is it? When we buy property, whose is it? Is it the man's? Is it the woman's? I know couples that work together, for example, and the land title and all the property is in the man's name, but it's their work. And I keep wondering, how does that work? If the title is in your name and not mine, if I was a woman, would I say yes to that deal? I don't know. So then you find scenarios where it's my money, her money, or better yet, these days, there is his money is our money, and my money, the lady says, is Maika money. Sente z'omukyala, za kikyala zange. All right, that kind of scenario, which is a bit interesting. And there's got to be conversations around that. But speaking straight about money management, and this is part of what we do with Straightforward Financial Growth, there is this scenario we call the Choi Principle. Most ladies who on this call and who are watching know about cooking. You know, when you have that pan that has some little water, you put it on a hot coil or something like that, and all that water evaporates in just a matter of a moment. It just goes shwai. And for guys and some ladies who have Rolex, you know how those Rolex guys clean the pans, between one chapati and the next, between one Rolex and the next, they put the hot pan on the charcoal stove, put some water, and it just goes shwai, right? Now, that seems to be what happens to most of our money. It comes in and evaporates as soon as it has come in. There's more month at the end of the money, and that's a terrible scenario, which is no different from modern day slavery, really. So your employer employs you and basically gives you money that you're able to then distribute. You become a courier service. You send some to MTN, some to Airtel for airtime. You send some to the landlady, and you're basically doing things to take care of yourself so that you can stay long enough to keep working for your employer, because you're not saving and you're not investing. It's the Choi Principle. It's no different from the slaves that were taken to America and are given entertainment, are given food, are given shelter, and not earning. It's the same thing. Okay, so how do we get out of this state? That's part of the conversation that I'd like us to have. Now, imagine a lady or a guy who has 1 million shillings. Your employer gives you 1 million shillings. But then let's say you're a very good Christian, as many people are here in Uganda. So you tithe, you give God 100%, 10%. So that's 100,000. Your landlord wants 300K. So there you go. You pay the 300,000. Your balance is 600,000. Transport these days, especially after COVID, it's really tricky. But let's say when you squeeze it with borders and the bus and all that, those orange buses, that's 100,000 for the month. Utilities, umeme, national water, 100K. Food, market, shopping, and all that, 100,000. We know that's not true, but let's be conservative. Let's say it's 100,000. Okay. House supply, supermarket, all that stuff, 100,000. Clothes, there must be boutique, you need to go to the saloon, you know what it is. That's about, say, 40,000. The balance is 60,000. But hey, you've not yet thought about airtime. Now, if you squeeze the bundles, you can probably use 40,000, but we know that you use more than that. Entertainment, pay TV, let's say that's Go TV, okay? That's 40,000. You're already now in negative 20,000. Now your friends need to take you out. During lockdown, you never went anywhere. Life was tough. So do you know what happens to you? Yes, you go out and you spend at least 60,000 that month. And I know that I'm being very conservative. And we've not yet talked about your friend who has a wedding and you're even feeling ashamed giving 40K only for the wedding, right? That's negative 120,000. This is a scenario we see happening again and again and again. And by the way, you may be thinking, poor guy, poor lady, they only have 1 million shillings. The more money people have is actually the more in debt they end up being, because we've not yet talked about a car loan. Yeah, because that flashy car that you had to buy to impress friends who don't really care about it. Yeah, it has to be UB, I don't know, is it UBG these days, UBF? I'm not even sure. You can see I'm not tracking those things, but people want to have the latest number plate, the coolest car, the coolest clothes and things like that. So people end up spending lots and lots and lots and lots of money, more than what they can actually afford. Okay, is this a scenario that we all have dealt with at some point? I'm sure we have. But we think that you can have a personal management plan. And here's the thing, even if you met all your expenses, even if you used 100% of your salary or your income, there will still be expenses that you need to deal with, because this is the thing about expenses. They gather together, they have a meeting, they have a good spy network, they smoke out how much money is coming, and they come, descend on it, and chew it all. So you need to control them. And that's where we encourage that you have a personal management plan. And we can keep it very simple. 10, 10, 20, 60. That's a basic one, okay? So 10%, yeah, you want to give tithe, honor God, yes, do that. 10%, have 10% as a blessing account. Have an account to give. Actually, the Bible encourages that you don't give to weepy stories, those teary stories with mucus and things like that. Don't give to such causes. Give because you planned to give. Okay, so that's 10%. Then you have 20% for your financial freedom account. Save for investment. Save and grow that money. That is your life savior. You must pay yourself first. And then you can have 60% for all your other different needs. In there is your hair and God knows what else there is. Right? And even if you are deeply in debt and you need to probably have 10% paying your debt, but at the very minimum, save 10%. I'll think save 20%, whatever happens to you. It's absolutely important. So what am I saying in money management? We should use our
Chris? Chris, are you there? I don't know if it is only me, but I think Chris has frozen and he's having a hard time getting back on the network. But that is okay. Technology always surprises us, but we have a way around it. We can still get back to the presentation and complete it. In the meantime, I would like to welcome everybody else who's joining us rather late, but you're not too late. We're still deep into the subject of emotional intelligence in personal finance management. We are about 40 minutes into the hour of 3 o'clock. And on behalf of Finance Trust Bank, I'd like to just explain a little why we do this. We do this because we are mandated to empower our clients with financial literacy, for them to know how best they can manage their finances, so that the products and services we provide are very relevant and they can appreciate where we're coming from. That is very important to us. So by the time you come and open up a savings account here, you know why you need to do it. You have a justification. You have gotten empowered with emotional intelligence, and you can make that decision on how much you need to save. So that is why we do this. As we wait for Chris to get back, I would like us to dive into the third presentation so we can have time to discuss and get our answers to the questions that are coming
Maggie,
in.
I'm back just in case you want to know.
Yes, Chris.
But you can carry on.
Okay.
I am back just in case you want to know, but you can carry on.
No, we wouldn't want to
Can I
carry on without
on
completion. Can we have about 5 minutes so you can conclude? Thank God you're back.
Okay, yes. All right, thank you very much. So let me conclude this way, especially because you've given me 5 minutes. The other thing about this whole thing about financial management is you pay yourself first because you need to keep your wealth cycle going. So in order for you to grow your wealth, you need to get it. You need to get an income, keep it, and grow it. You get money, keep it, grow it. All right. So that if the more that goes round is the more you make money. Now, assume you have a four-sided, maybe a square, and on one side of the square you have incomes. So money comes in. On the other side of the square, you have savings. You save the money. On the other side of the square, you have assets. So you buy some assets. Assets is what makes money for you. And on the other side of the square that completes it, it's cash flow. All right. So you have incomes coming in. You have savings. That's what you keep. That's the money you keep. You have assets. So you buy assets that are going to be producing cash flow. Now, here's what happens. The reason why it's called a currency, why money is called a currency, is the more it circulates, is the more it works for you, okay? So the more income comes in and you save and then you buy assets and they produce more cash flow and you plow that back, the more that happens is the richer you become, and then you have this thing called net worth. Now, that's an interesting conversation, especially with finances. And in the family setting, which I love, that's a big one. If a woman has got a higher net worth than her husband, you are going to have conversations, interesting conversations, okay? Some guys can't stand it. I wouldn't mind it, because if my wife had a higher net worth than our net worth, woohoo, it would be great to go. But that said, I think that we need to seriously consider growing our net worth on a day-to-day. Pay yourself first, but grow your net worth. And how do you keep doing that? When the income comes in, the thing to fight are expenses. expenses, those demons that eat up your children out and their land. You must control them, because between income and savings, expenses can shoot that income. Savings can also be chewed by expenses. I've ever had a scenario we had some money saved. A loved one was unwell, and we had to spend our savings. And you need to defend your savings from those sorts of expenses. Expenses can basically eat up what's coming from your assets, and then also stop you from plowing back the money, the cash flow that keeps on coming from your assets. So what am I saying? We need to apply our emotional intelligence to conversations that are going to help us to pay ourselves first, and to conversations that are going to help us to grow our net worth as individuals.
Hello, Chris.
This has been helpful to you. Thank you. Over to you, Maggie.
Can you hear me? Okay, I'm on. Thank you so much, Chris. Sorry we had a problem with your network. And I hope that does not mean that your net worth is also threatened. We know it is stable. We'll get to know about that a lot later. At this point in time, I would like us to invite our third and last presenter for the subject, and that is none other than Dr. Maggie Chigozie. Doctor, are you there? Doctor, we would like to see you on the screen. We would like to hear you. Are you there? Doctor is joining us from her home.
Yes, hi, Judy.
Hi.
Maggie, my namesake,
Yes,
is that you?
namesake. We're happy to have you.
Hi.
Hi, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much
Thank
for
you.
joining us. I cannot say
You're
much
welcome.
about you because you're a known personality. We have gone through two presentations. The first presentation was about techniques we can use to gain that emotional intelligence we need for managing our finances. The second presentation we had was about managing our finances and applying that emotional intelligence in getting our net worth up there. Now, Dr. Maggie, as you all know, is somebody who has walked the talk that we're talking about today. She at one time followed the money, but now the money follows her. I'd like to just summarize it that way. Doctor, I know you're going to speak from your heart. I just want you to talk to us about how having emotional intelligence has helped you in your professional life and how you are applying it now that you are in semi-retirement. And where do we need to lead the generation of today in applying emotional intelligence so that they can get to where you are or even better? Thank you, Doctor. The next 20 minutes are yours.
Thank you, Maggie. I am privileged to be with you, and I enjoyed the first two presentations. Very different from the things that I normally listen to, so it was interesting. Less technical and more emotional, personal, and community. So it was really nice to hear it, and for me, it's definitely very rare. Always lived about other people. It's about other people. It has never ever been about me. And I was asked by you, Maggie, to look more about retirement and how you prepare for it, and also whether there are, what opportunities there are for investment. using your emotional financial intelligence. And I wanted to look at preparing for retirement. I know many of you are still very young, and I guess that seems to be very, very distant, but it probably is not as far away as you think it is, because a lot has changed in the last few years. My father, for example, worked in the same office for over 50 years until he retired, and then he had a pension. So he was in government and he was permanent and pensionable. The question is, are you? Whatever job you have. And also nowadays we have very different career paths. We have you, the one who's lucky to have a job. I mean, I see the lovely young ladies in finance trust proudly emblazoned onto their sweater, on their shirts. And so really you're lucky. And I tell them every day, those who have a job, you should pat yourself on the back, thank God. And maybe your own emotional intelligence, thank that, got you where you are. But there's so many other people who would love to have a job and don't have it. So if you have a job, my advice is be the best you can be in that position and do the best you can so that your employer doesn't feel they need to retire you. The other set of you that are out there are the entrepreneurs. Those of you who are trying to run your own business and succeed in your business, employing other people, and you're there as well. But we also have a small group, and in Uganda, really, really small. Could be either the employee or the entrepreneur or someone who hasn't got a job yet. There is the volunteer. And no one seems to recognize how so very useful volunteering is and how it can contribute to your life. If I told you my history in volunteering, was for me, I'm the first one to always say, I'm here, I will do, how that has got me places. Because you start off as a volunteer and then they say, okay, when they're thinking who can do that, it's always you. You know, you end up in positions because you started off volunteering as a scout. People think I'm wasting my time looking after all those little boys and girls, but no, I'm not. It has got me places. I volunteer for, you know, I'm a feminist, work with the women, and that has got me places too. I am the SDG 5 ambassador for Uganda, the UN Women, you know. So volunteering, don't ever overlook volunteering. Volunteer, sit on boards and things like that. But retirement is the action of leaving your job, right? You ended and you're ceasing to work. That's what it used to be. You stopped working, you had retired. I look at my friends or my age mates, and hardly anyone has retired in that sense. They're still doing things here and there. So is this still an option that we are really going to think working? And maybe it's not. Even my father, who did 50, also went ahead and did some contracts and then got his pension. So what is your plan? Traditionally, our plan for retirement was the African extended family, your children. So you did your best for your children, educated them, and they used actually to be able to look after their parents. It's a challenge now, which is why maybe you should not depend on that. Yes, educate your kids to the best the ability that you can, but remember, they may be unemployed. They may not be able to find a job, like so many of our young people cannot. So what can you do for yourself? And the earlier speakers did touch on how you prepare. They talked about savings. Savings, a part of your salary. Can you keep it? And I think Finance Trust is there waiting for it, to look after it for you. But there also, of course, are other options for your savings. But if you kept them in the bank and tried your best not to fail in these Ugandan love for consumerism, for big things, big weddings for your children, big graduation parties, big funerals. Really, at some point, I think maybe Corona came to disabuse us. People are being buried very nicely without the whole village and the whole town driving all the way to attend those funerals. So this consumerism that we have, where you might have saved, been saving all along and so excited, your child has graduated, out come all the savings and they're gone. So let us try and keep savings as savings. You will need them in the future. Of course, there's the NSSF. Those of you who are employed, you have NSSF, yes, and that keeps your money safely. As you see, they wouldn't even give it to you for COVID. They are keeping your money until you retire, and that is a good thing. Those of you who are lucky also have something called gratuity, where the company contributes 10%, you contribute maybe another 5%, and they keep the money for you to use for something bigger. So that can help you to, once you have retired, to think of doing something. Now, educating your children is a plan. It is a plan. They will be able, hopefully, to help you. Have you got a house? Getting to retire and you don't own a house is the most difficult thing. So my father, who used to get his 300,000 shillings, it was actually almost enough for him. He was on a farm, he had a house. Imagine the rental that Chris put up coming off that, and you can see the problem. So trying to make sure you do have an asset, you do have a house, so that as you retire, you're not retiring into oblivion. It can be very emotionally painful. I must tell you a story of not a young man, he was retiring, so he's definitely not young, but he was smallish, who had a job at Parliament where I used to work as a doctor for all his life, and suddenly retired. He was living in a government house all this time, and I think it had never occurred to him that the house did not belong to him. So all of a sudden, the new person in the job is coming and government needs the house. Wow, that was a disaster. I was a doctor, so he came to me because he was in tears. He was upset. He had never expected that the house that belonged to him for the last 30 years actually was not his. So plan. Look at what you have. The same thing happened to my neighbor. My neighbor had a lease for, I think, 49 years. He even renovated the house and forgot about the 49 years until the owner, can I renew the lease? No, I need my house back. And that was a disaster for him as well. So begin to plan, where are you going to be able to live? The other one is your reputation. Who are you? What have you been doing? Have you been one of the people breaking down the church in Natete? Have you been one of the corrupt people that we hear the brigadier runs around chasing? Have you, your ethics and integrity will take you into retirement and you'll be comfortable. You'll be comfortable and people will be looking for you, as opposed to going home and everybody worrying about having to deal with you. So ethics, what reputation have you got? What does the community think about you? You are moving into the community now full time. You're not going to be dashing off in the morning at 8 and come back at 8 in the evening and the community never sees you. You are now full time with the community. What do they know about you? Are you generous? You've been helpful? There's that little money that Chris put up there that you could use in cases like that, to help out at funerals, help out at, So your reputation, another one that will stand you in good stead. When they're looking for a board member for something in Uganda, nobody blinks an eye when they think about me. It's the first name that comes. Why? I have a clean record. At no point did I mess up. So for your own emotional comfort, make sure that is happening as well as you live your life now. I know you're very young and maybe retirement is so far away, but now with social media, we never forget. These things will keep on coming back to haunt you. And the other one now is your physical body. Yes, we heard about TM, make you peaceful emotionally. And that, of course, goes to your body as well. Are you exercising? Are you eating the right things? Don't be like me. I love my sugar and my sweets and my sodas and chocolates. But can you be better, and live more healthy? So it's important that, again, you are able to have a healthy body as you retire so that you are not retiring into a hospital bed. Get medical checkups and things like that. So look after yourself. You've only got the one body. You will not get a spare from anywhere. The other thing is friends, family. Keep your brain working. Every day, discuss something, learn something. And nowadays with technology, WhatsApp groups, you can have useful ones. Be careful. There are some that are really, really a mess. You need to keep away from those ones. Learn some new skills. Can we start partnering? Can we begin agriculture? You're retiring. Have you got a piece of land? And if you had a piece of land all along, and you, the young ones, have a piece of land, I'm not talking about when you retire. Can you grow something now? Can you begin farming? Can you look at a business that you can do? And so, what else can you do? Networks are important. What school did you go to? I am a product of Gayaza High School, and we have a WhatsApp group for my class. We have a WhatsApp group for the whole school. So we keep up to date. We work with our school, we help, So those are very important networks. My sports people, the ones I play tennis with. The family. I have great grandchildren. I have children, my brothers, it's wonderful. The family keeps you together. So Chris talked about the hardworking wife makes a lot of money. Nice. My father, and friendly, and none of this GBV, gender-based violence we're hearing about now. You must remember as parents, your children, what do you expect of them? What are they looking at when they look at you? You are the role model, number one, either as father or as mother. You are the number one role model. Who are you? What are they getting? I am 70 years old. I was 70 a few weeks ago. I can't stop working because I never saw anyone in my family not working. I told you about my father. After he retired, he still continued to work. My mother would be on her machine sewing until she was. That is the role model that I had. So now I cannot sit down and do nothing and say, okay, I'm retired and I'm here. No, I still need to work. So we are the role models. The grandchildren are looking at me now. They're thinking, okay, they're just still working and they are interested. So let's provide the role model. Ethics come in there. What else do you do? How are your friends? Good friends or bad friends? They will see. They will learn from you. So let's make sure the next generation knows you as, and want to look at you as their role model. They actually have you as their role model, whether they like you or not. because you are all that they see. Diversifying your sources of income. I know some of you have a job, a good job. Some of you have a good business. Corona showed us that is not enough. Many of the businesses have not opened yet. If you're in the, the salons have just been allowed to open, but the bars are still closed. The churches, it's not a business. Yeah, it is a business, I guess, but churches are not open yet. So we learned that you cannot do one thing. And we've been shown examples by NTV and others on people who have diversified now in COVID. So can you think what else can you be doing? Yeah. Opportunities for businesses in so many areas. I don't have the time to take you through now, but I'm happy to come back, Maggie, and talk about where the opportunities are for doing business. And you need to prepare for doing this business. So I think I'd better stop now. I've taken you through retirement and how to get ready for it and how to be well prepared for it and how to enjoy it, which is the most important thing. I thank you very much, Maggie. Now, one more point that I left out. Have you got a will? Are we going to have you pass away and then begin to fight for your plot of land, begin to fight as family, as your family, for your car? And meanwhile, your children, we are kicking them out. Please leave a will. My husband left a will. He passed away 24 years ago, and I'm eternally grateful that I did not have to scrabble with families or other people wanting to take over our property that I needed to look after for his children, our children. So please, the will is not optional. I don't care if you have only one dress, tell us who you are leaving it for and write it down. It's easy, get somebody else to say they saw your will and you'll be okay. So let me stop there, Maggie, and allow other people to say, ask questions.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you so much for the knowledge, for sharing so much information about partly your journey and your testimony. Very empowering. I'm sure people out there are starting to think, am I on the right track with everything that we have shared? Those must be the questions coming up. I do not want to get through the summary of what Doctor has presented. I'm sure it was very well answered. I want to just get into the question. Our first question is already in, and somebody's asking Judith here, how does stress affect my financial status? Judith, if you could just tell us briefly, how does stress affect my financial status?
Thank you, Maggie. This is a very good question. And the answer is stress affects our face in a sense that oftentimes we use, or research shows that we only use 5% of our brain. So unless we have the opportunity to tap into the latent
Maggie, she's muted. You need to unmute her.
Just a minute. Judith, we're having problems with our sound. I would like to ask our technical team to sort it out. Judith, can you be heard now? Yes? I think we have the volume now. Kindly repeat the answer. We had a technical hitch there.
The answer is yes. Stress affects our financial status in a sense that research shows that we use 5% of our brain. So unless you tap into the reservoirs of your brain, this is when you get to be more creative, more productive, and also to be able to make better decisions of your finances that you earn. So the decisions that we make are so critical.
on our financial status. And this way we have to find a way that we are less stressed, so that the time we make decisions regarding our finances, we are our best selves.
Thank you so much, Judith, for that response. I hope the person who asked the question is satisfied. You too can ask a question right now. Please type into the chat room if you're on a Zoom platform, or you can get to the comment section on the Facebook page and type a question in there. We will receive it and try and give you an answer. Catherine has asked, and this is her story. My community circle business just closed off so badly during the lockdown. We are so stressed and financial status is very bad. My question is, how can I be helped to lift up again? Because I'm still interested in teaching financial education to the low-income earners in our community. Judith, would you like to take that again? This is Catherine. She says her circle has closed down during the lockdown. She's very stressed and their financial status is very bad. How can she be helped to lift up again? Because she's still interested in offering financial literacy to the members in her community.
Thank you, Catherine. How Catherine and the group can be helped is, I don't know if we could get in touch with the team, and then I will take them through how they could resume or how they could refresh themselves and then get on board again.
Okay. I'll ask that somebody types Awago's contact into the chat room so that Catherine can get the contacts. Okay. We have another question. Mr. Nsuluga, there's a question for you from Tatu. Tatu is asking, how best can we handle or how best can we manage the dependency burden with our personal finances?
Thanks a lot. So here's the thing. Dependency burden could be your parents, could be your siblings and all that. If you live in this part of the world, you probably have already or are continuing to take care of your siblings. Sometimes the siblings are younger. Okay, whoever is on the call, please mute. Thank you. Right. So sometimes the siblings are younger and you need to pay their fees, to help them along. Or sometimes you have older parents. So where it's either siblings or older parents. Now, first of all, it's an important thing for us to honor our parents and provide for them. Every so often pitch in for their upkeep. I think Dr. Maggie said that one of the things about retirement is that it's important for you to invest in the education of your children because they can help you in the future. Yes, so people do think those sorts of thoughts, okay? People think those sorts of thoughts, and so it's not going to be wished away. But put it in the 10% for giving. Remember the 10%? Put aside a certain percentage of money that you give, and so the people that depend on you put their money within that 10% that you put away. Maggie, if you could also allow me just half a minute to speak into the question that was asked before. The person who's under stress because their circle shut down during COVID. NSSF could have also shut down during COVID, but NSSF put down its foot and said, we are not releasing the savings. Is it possible that the people came into the saving till and took the money out? And so there is financial stress because the savings were eaten. You remember the square I told you about the expenses that keep on going out? That probably was a problem. So what do you need to do? Start again. Start saving again. It's the only way out. I don't know how the TM people would handle it, but for me, it's just straightforward financial growth. Start saving again, build it back again. And this time, tell people, never eat your savings. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Chris, for the response. We have a few more questions in the chat room. John, I'll request you to read the next question that we have, please. Could you do that for me? John?
Yes, Maggie?
Kindly read the next
Just
question
1
in the
minute.
chat room.
Okay. Question to Chris. How can one strike a balance between money and happiness, which in most cases to attain requires spending? This question is to Chris.
Please, I hope that was clear.
Yeah, I will be very brief on that. Balance between happiness and money. So here's the thing. Someone once said, you either pay now and play later, or you play now and pay later. You either pay now and play later, or play now and pay later. Whichever way you will pay. So what does that mean? Happiness has got a lot to do with, sometimes, and I know we have different definitions for happiness, but, probably you want to be happy, you want to have a cool car, want to take your people out and things like that. And I'm not saying don't do that, but do it within measure. Dictate the boundaries for your money. And so have the kind of happiness that you can afford. If you want to go out, there is chikumi chikumi that's going out. There is chicken tonight that's going out. There's cafe javas that's going out. There's Serena that's going out. But you can't always want to go to Serena when you can afford chikumi chikumi. Take yourself to chikumi chikumi. As the money grows and your expenses, as the boundaries have been put forward, can afford that. You keep on growing that. But you must save. You must save and invest, because it's the only way to keep growing your net worth. And when you're retired, you'll be a happy person. Maggie said something about Dr. Maggie. She said she used to chase money. Now money is chasing her. That's a wise woman who saved, invested, paid then, and she's now playing. Pay now, play later. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Chris, for that very interesting response. John, do we have the next question?
Yes, the question is to Judith. Judith, can you explain how TM can help vulnerable women in Uganda rise and become contributors to the economic growth of Uganda?
I don't know if Judith has heard that. There's a question for Judith. Please put on the headphones so you can hear the question. John, can we have the question again, please?
Judith, can you explain how TM can help vulnerable women in Uganda rise and become contributors to the economic growth of Uganda?
I think it is best that we give Dr. Leslie, yes, Dr. Leslie, the opportunity to give us a response to that question, because she's got experience working with the vulnerable women in Uganda, trying to change their mindset and get some financial freedom. Dr. Leslie, you have a few minutes to answer this question.
Thank you so very much for giving me this opportunity. I work very closely with Judith and the whole team at Awago in Uganda. And I just wanted to share that several years ago, I conducted a research study there with vulnerable women at United Women's Platform for Empowerment and Development, collaborating with Awago and this other organization. And these were vulnerable women living in poverty who are struggling to make ends meet, to survive, and to help their children. And I just wanted to say that the results of this study, this was a randomized controlled study with 80 women who were hugely suffering from psychological and physiological distress. And when these women learned, they learned one important thing. They learned how to settle themselves down, to settle the mind, and to actually help themselves get rid of the stress inside their minds and their bodies. We found that they became more clear thinking, better able to manage their daily lives. That's the most important point here. Both Chris and Maggie talked about how important it is to be able to prepare ourselves when it comes to our personal growth, both economically, personally, and especially in our relationships, which according to emotional intelligence is such a critical factor. So when we're able to do something on the level of the mind and the body are so intimately connected. And when we can relax and settle the mind, and this is done so effortlessly, there's no effort involved in this practice of TM. And when we can settle the mind, we can also settle the body. And this becomes a foundation and a basis for strengthening a person from inside. We can call this empowerment from within ourselves. And that is a very critical foundation. So what we found with these vulnerable women, who are some of the most vulnerable women in the country, we found that when they were able to do this practice, which allowed them to settle themselves from within themselves by themselves, they were able to start to get rid of their headaches, sleep better, get rid of their fatigue. And they would explain that this happened very quickly because the results of this practice are actually something that can happen very quickly. You don't get better at meditating as time goes by. You start to get rid of those stresses from the very beginning when you start to practice this transcendental meditation technique. And these women were explaining to us and described through the research that they were able to just feel less stressful. Their minds were clearer. They felt that they could think more clearly. They behaved better towards their children. They just behaved better with their neighbors. In fact, the reason we have 700 women who are practicing TM through this group is because women would flock to Judith and her team to learn TM because they saw such amazing changes in their neighbors, conflict resolution within the neighborhoods. And we can just see how the basis of any strong relationship is this development of emotional intelligence for self-management, for self-awareness, for relationship growth. And we know that in order to give, you have to have something inside. Love flows from a full heart. So this very simple practice, we found that even these most vulnerable women, they started to come out of themselves. Some of them would just stay in home. They wouldn't go anywhere or do anything. They couldn't function because they were so stressed, both physically and mentally. And when they started to have relief in that way, they started to be able to go out, look for work, to become more creative and think of ways, even in their small way, to start to take care of their children. So we see this great potential here for these most vulnerable women in Uganda to actually begin to play a role in making their own personal contribution to the growth of the economy through many ways. Maggie, I loved you talking about agriculture because these women know how to grow food. So there's so many opportunities and different things that these women could do. And the reason is because now these women, this group, are just feeling so much more empowered inside, stronger, thinking better, making better decisions, able to plan, and are like an amazing potential workforce that could really, really benefit the whole society. So this is something we're very proud of. And Judith and I and the whole team there are just so grateful to be able to share this with you. And at some point we could go share more about the research, but that was the basic end result of the whole thing that we've been doing together. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Leslie, for that very insightful presentation you've made about how transcendental meditation can help vulnerable women to get that mental stability to be able to get on with their lives. We're almost closing, but before we do, I'd like to give Dr. Maggie Chigozie an opportunity to tell us right now. You'll have an audience of people who are still in active jobs. They're still very much in the hustle. what can they look out for? What opportunities are there right now that they can harness and they'll work for them during retirement?
Excellent. Thank you, Judith. No, thank you, Maggie. I was Maggie. What can you do? Well, first of all, you need to start with yourself. You as an individual. Can you be a business person? Can you start a business? And when you start it, can you run it? Yes, some people are born entrepreneurs, but most of us have to learn. So you can learn. I'm sure Finance Trust can organize that for you if they haven't done that already. And an entrepreneurship course so that you can run your business. Learn how to draw a business plan, learn how to keep your books of accounts, and how to save, and of course use the bank. Our wonderful bank started off being for women, and now they have men there as well, which is nice. We don't hate our partners. So it is, save, begin to save. Right now you need to begin to save. You can't start a business with nothing, all right? But you haven't got nothing, you have you. And always look at yourself. You are young, take that one. You are educated, take another tick. You have this kind of skills, tick. You have assets. Have you got a computer? You definitely have one of these phones that we take around, which are very, very helpful in any business. So what assets have you got? Can you jot them down and see what goes into your business? Now you need to find your passion. What is it that you like? If you start a business that you hate because Judith there is doing it, you may not succeed. What is it? Have you got a talent? Have you got a skill? Maybe that's the business you should start. But opportunities in Uganda exist in so many sectors. Have you got land? Agriculture, we are going to feed the world as Uganda. Be ready to do that. Be ready to participate. Not necessarily if you don't like the whole, you don't like the dirt. It's a longer value chain. You can be on the side of the seeds, you can be on the side of the value addition, you can be the exporter. So it has a whole long value chain. What is it that you like? And there are very interesting crops now. Technology is being used. Modern agriculture is not what your grandmother used to do. It's now really exciting. I sit down and look at my coffee nursery. Technology came and said you have to have 7 types of coffee. And you do that, and then you transplant, and it's really so exciting. So which part of agriculture? Tourism. I know tourism has been so hurt by COVID. If anybody has been hurt, tourism has been, but Uganda has such wonderful tourism products. They'll still be here. So it's something you can begin to think about. Our women, our men have built hotels, they have lodges, they have cultural villages, they have incredible things. What is it that you want to do? Then there is the professionals. I can see some accountants right in front of me. Do you want to start your accounting firm, your lawyer firm, your medical, those of you who are in medicine, and actually you don't even need to have done that. You can start something in that area and hire the necessary skills. But of course, usually when you start, you're so poor, you have to do everything. You are the manager, you are the cleaner, you're everything. But you'll get up from that phase and move on as the business grows bigger. Keeping your accounts is very, very important. The areas of, we have now got mining, complicated, not for you, the faint-hearted, and oil. Those are 2 sectors. There are quite a large number of women in the oil sector. If you look at who does all the EIAs, the environmental impact assessments in the oil sector, you find it's the ladies in their individual firms. So don't, run away from sectors that you don't understand. Running circles. So those are some of the investment opportunities, Maggie. I know so many, I can keep you here all night. And UIA has produced 500 project profiles. Go to their website, look at these 500. Something in there may click for you. Maybe your project is actually within those 500.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for being very candid with us on what we need to get our hands on right now. And I hope the people in the audience have actually picked up something. UIA is a clear source we can tap into right now. We're almost closing, but there's a question here for Chris. And before Chris gets in, I'd like to recognize one of the ladies that was at the beginning of Finance Trust Bank. Dr. Maggie Chigozi has alluded to the fact that it was initially a women's idea of savings, and we are privileged to have one of our pioneer ladies in this cause, and she's also a shareholder for Finance Trust Bank, Mrs. Ida Wanendea. She's in the house. She joined via Zoom. Mrs. Wanendea, we are privileged to have you on board, and I don't know if you have a message for us at this moment.
Hi, Ida. We are happy to see you.
Mrs. Wanende, are you there? Mrs. Wanende, maybe she's having problems with her connection. But maybe, Chris, can we have your last take? Chris, there's a question in the chat room, and somebody wants you to speak about passive income, what it is, and how to change a financial situation that is dire, from a negative cash position to a positive cash position. We seem to have a delay moment there. Chris, are you still with us?
Can you hear me? Hi,
Yes.
Maggie, can you hear me now?
Yes, you're on.
Okay, brilliant. There was a small little question about multiple income streams just before that in the chat room, and I think those two things are related. A passive income is basically an income you get without working. An income you get without working, not that you didn't invest in it, but it's coming from assets. Say, for example, if you have rentals, money coming from that without you having to work, that's passive income. And there's so many other sources of passive income. Money that's coming while you're sitting passively, right? The investments that that some people like Bill Gates have made get them to earn up to $6,000 per minute, even while they sleep. Okay, so that's passive income. And I know that that's so income, for example, your MTN shop or whatever it is, mobile money and things like that. That is money you're getting from active. That's active income. You're working for it. Okay. If you don't do the work, you don't get the money. But it's from those multiple streams of income that you're able then to get passive income and therefore start earning. I'm sure that I know Dr. Maggie can tell us here now, or even the director shareholder of Finance Trust, they worked it while the bank was beginning. But right now you've got wonderful ladies like Maggie managing the bank, and the director shows up to say hi. But every end of the year, kitching, kitching, so that's a thing, play later. And I think for me, that's a big message. Pay yourself first, invest, save, invest, do the hard work now. And then the passive income will keep on coming and it will serve the dire situation. Someone in a dire situation, the other thing I would like to say, if you have someone mentioned negative cash flow. If you have a negative cash flow, that means that you are spending more than you are earning. Arrest the expenses. Go back and revisit. Must you stay in the house where you're staying now? Maybe if you're renting, you need to get to a cheaper house. Maybe you shouldn't have the kind of car you have. How about if you sell it, if it's most cars are an expense, a liability, you spend on them. How about selling the car? How about using cheaper means of transport? Maybe you have a car that is worth a house. How about if you have one which is like 15 M or something like that? Just a rule of thumb: your car should only cost you 5% of your total net worth. Only 5%. of your total net worth. So things like that, and would be happy to help you have a further conversation with straightforward financial growth. And even on the business side with Gravitas Impact, I'll be happy to help. But it's all up to Maggie and her team. I'd be happy to have a further conversation. For now, thanks a lot for the opportunity to speak to you. All right, bye.
Thank you so much, Chris, for giving us that wrap up. I'd not asked you to wrap up yet, so never know, you're not yet off the hook. But we should be closing round about now. I still would like to have a word from Mrs. Wanendea. If you're still on, please unmute your microphone and activate your camera so we can see you and hear you. Mrs. Wanendea, are you there? I think we're failing to get a connection. I will just move on right now and get our parting shots. First from Judith. Judith, your parting shot about having that state of mind to be able to make the best financial decisions for personal growth. Yeah, please give us your word.
Yeah, looking at the possibility in the light of emotional intelligence and finance, a team can lift up every one of us and we scale up to our agendas for economic enhancement. This gives us a beautiful and fulfilling vision of possibilities for betterment of our communities and our nation. We are looking forward to working with Finance Trust Bank to make this a reality.
Thank you so much for that partnership. Yeah. That is a welcome gesture. We will definitely get on board. Finance Trust is about community, so we're definitely on board. Dr. Maggie, are you there? Dr. Maggie, are you there? Can you hear me? I don't know if Dr. Maggie can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you, Maggie. Yes.
Okay, we seem to have some very... Okay,
I can hear you.
You can hear.
Yes. Yes, parting shot, mine is to my fellow women out there. Learn to stand up on your own, learn to work, learn to save, take a few risks, and build your own capacity, learn and get skills. I know those are all very boring, but they're also very helpful and they're not that complicated. Learning to get skills now is just, you know, the iPad is actually already right in front of me, and that's where the knowledge and the skills are, so you can get them very easily. But I wish you well. The fact that you're here supporting Finance Trust and listening to them when they bring you value addition to the knowledge that you have, I think you're already the right group for them. And I really look forward to seeing you succeed in whatever you want to do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for that endorsement. And I can't put it in any other way. Finance Trust is here for you. We're doing this because we're about community, we put women first, and we would like to be your bank of choice. We will do many more of these. And when we call upon you, Doctor, when we call upon you, Judith, Chris, kindly be available. Remember, we have to do good. Right now, I'd like to just sign off and thank everybody who has been a part of this, everybody who has asked a question, everybody who has watched on TV, on Facebook, and kindly stay tuned to our YouTube channel. This very session will be available for repeats. You can join our YouTube channel, subscribe, and you'll be able to watch it all over again and get your brain triggered on how to get your emotional intelligence working for you in your personal finance development. My name is Maggie Lukowe, signing out and encouraging you to stay safe, and God bless you.